how I feel right now. I don't wanna take no time to write this down. I wanna tell you how I feel right now. Hey, tomorrow may never come. For you or me, life is not promised. Tomorrow may never show up. For you and me, this life is not promised. I ain't no perfect man, I'm trying to do the best that I can with what it is I have. I ain't no perfect man, I'm trying to do the best that I can with what it is I have. Put my heart and soul into this song. I hope you feel me from where I am to wherever you are. I mean that sincerely. Tomorrow may never come. For you and me, life is not promised. Tomorrow may never appear. You better hold this very moment very close to you right now. Very close to you. So close to you. So close to you. Don't be afraid. Let it shine. My Umi said, shine your light on the world. Shine your light for the world to see. My Ami said, shine your light on the world. Shine your light for the world to see. My Ami said, shine your light on the world. Shine your light for the world to see. My Umi said, shine your light on the world. Shine your light for the world to see. Sometimes I get discouraged. I look around and things are so weak. People are so weak. Times I feel like crying. Sometimes my heart.
Hello. Welcome everyone to episode number four of our Tuesday talk. I hope everyone had a safe and wonderful Memorial Day weekend, enjoyed your time off, enjoyed your families, and just a little history note. If you didn't know, you will know that Memorial Day actually was started by Black people, by freed Black folks, and they actually called it Decoration Day. I think that's the name of the first Decoration Day. Exactly. So they don't teach you this in school. So it's up to us to make sure that we know the roles that we played in this country, and we have to share the history. So I am so glad to see everybody joining us. And now it is time for me to introduce. It's such a great honor. I missed her so much. And I know you guys did too. Let's bring on our fabulous, gorgeous, amazing host, Miss Candace Jordan. And we call her Candy. So, hey.
Hey. Hi, how are you today?
I am fine. Girl, we missed you so much.
You did just fine. Trust me. You did it so good. You remember I told you, what they calling me for? Tanya got this. You have this, girl. You did such an awesome job.
Well, we have some very, very special guests who should be joining us relatively soon.
Okay.
And so I'm excited. We started this thing. Well, actually, Candy, we weren't supposed to be live streaming in Philadelphia, but we did it anyway.
Okay.
But we did it anyway. So this is a continuation of what was started in Philadelphia last week with our founder and President Emeritus, Marchel Smiley, and our other President Emeritus, Rob Bashir. And so they should be joining us soon. I'm going to get out of your way and hey, I'm
Well,
excited
it's
about
nothing for me to do. I mean, you got to stay here and talk to me till they come.
okay, exactly.
So give me a
Exactly.
little. Well, let me interview you, Miss Tanya. Okay,
Okay.
Miss Tanya, tell me a little bit about the convention that you went to.
The convention was amazing. It was amazing. And when I counted all a blessing that I was there to witness our new international president,
Wow.
April Verrett, step into her role, and she stepped right into it with power, authority, and grace. And it just filled me with so much pride because I know one day I'm going to be able to tell my grandchildren, hey, I was there. I was there when that happened. One day I'm going to be able to tell my grandchildren that I was there when President Obama became the first Black president. I was there when Kamala Harris became our first vice president. This means something to me, and I know every Black, I'm not gonna say every, it should be every
It
Black.
should be because those are historical moments in our community, no matter how big or how small. Anytime that we as Black people, people of color, can achieve greatness and get to spots and positions that were not so kind to us and probably never thought that we would arise to, never thought that our mental capacity could handle something like that, you know. So it's historic in many different ways. You know, sometimes it's not all about the name behind it or what the position is. It's just about us moving into spaces that then open the doors for somebody else behind me to come in.
Oh my God, yes, sister. Yes, sister. You're almost preaching right now. If I could get up and shout, I would. But I might knock the sign down. And I don't know if you noticed.
I see Mr. Eddie Reed back there.
There he is. He touched so many lives, lives, including mine. And so I'm so grateful to him. Rest in peace, Mr. Eddie Reed. What a powerful figure. And another person who I say this, if a Black child can see it, a Black child can be it. And Eddie Reed and his position in this union, I know that he was the hope for some Black children growing up whose lives he touched.
Yes.
So, hey, I see we have someone popping in. So I'm going to pop out. It's all yours, Sister Candy. Thank you for giving me this moment to just share and to reflect on how I felt at the convention. I'm so appreciative. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. All right, coming to the stage, we have one of our first esteemed guests who will be an historian for us today about AFRAM and just how it all got started and how they were just two true soldiers fighting for us, fighting for our right, you know, to be heard, to be understood. So let's welcome to the stage Mr. Marchel Smiley. Good evening, Mr. Smiley. How are you?
Hi, Kenny. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Well, my brother Rod Bashir, we were both like waiting, you know, and I think we both were in the room, right, in the studio.
Okay.
And then I was just waiting, nothing happened. Then somebody texted me and said, they waiting for you. So I pressed the button and I came in, right?
Okay.
So I'm just maybe Rod need to, if he can hear it, maybe you just need to press enter the studio.
Yes,
and he'll pop up because he yeah. So
Miss Tanya, maybe you can send him a text, tell him he has to hit enter the studio so that he can come on in. Yeah. So we'll handle that and get the word to him.
Great.
Yes. So, sir, while you're here and I have you to myself, first of all, thank you so much for honoring us by coming on tonight. I am a new member to AFRAM, and I'm just excited to learn all about AFRAM, what it is, what we do, and how I can spread the message because it's up to us to tell the story. It's up for us to spread the message, and it's up to us to open our arms and welcome more people in. And the more that they know, the more that we can tell them, the more they're more apt to come on in. So how long have you been a part of AFRAM?
I've been part of AFRAM since 1992.
Okay.
Basically, that's when we got the charter established. But before that, we had been meeting about it, but we actually had the International Convention pass a resolution at the 1992 convention.
Okay, to get it locked in.
To get it locked
sealed in. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
There's my brother.
There he is. Hi, Mr. Bashir. How are you? You gotta hit I think you might have us on mute, sir. We still can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me
there
now?
We go. Yes. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening. Good to be with you all. I had one more button to press, and
yes.
So did I, Rod. I was sitting out there, right? Somebody gracefully texted me and said, "Hey, they waiting for you to come in." Right. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. We were just getting started with Mr. Smiley. You guys, I hear, will be our true historians because you guys were there from the beginning. Let's go back. Let's go back before 1992. What was the decision and what was the conversation, or what was the motivation to say, hey, we need something for ourselves?
Well, Black SEIU activists have been meeting around the country for several years to discuss our full participation in the programs and in the finances of SEIU. Normally what we did, we met at CBTU conferences, we met at APRI conferences, we met at CLU conferences, because those were large conferences. And within the larger conferences, we would meet among ourselves to talk about issues that we faced, that what we thought should be changes within the structure of SEIU, that there was not enough representation of people of African descent in leadership positions, and they were not funding local unions that were predominantly African American with funds to grow and organize like they were other locals. And so that was a great concern. In addition to the staff, the international headquarters staff did not have African American representation at all levels of the staff. And we felt that that was an issue as well. So those were some of the main issues that we had started to discuss and trying to determine what steps we should take to address them.
Okay. The other conferences with the other acronyms that you gave us, they were for different conferences, or were they different segments of the union?
No, they like the CBTU is the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. It was founded in 1972. Mm-hmm. And it is a coalition of labor unions from all around the country, different international unions, Black people. It's Black people that came together and created this organization, which is called the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. And then there's another sister, a brother organization that is called the A. Philip Randolph Institute. And its initials are APRI. So those are the two major African American labor, Black labor organizations. And so Black activists from all unions come to those two national conferences like every year. Yeah.
Wow.
I just, on a side note, while I'm so tired, I just left the Coalition of Black Trade Unions Convention just ended in Houston.
Okay.
So we flew from Philadelphia with our own SEIU convention straight into Houston in order to attend the Coalition of Black Trade Unions Convention. And so, of course, we're a little tired about now, but in good spirits.
Absolutely, and rightly so. I didn't know anything about those unions. And I'm sure a lot of us don't know about how we have mobilized when it comes to the different areas, occupations that we occupy and probably have built from the ground up and mastered as we have come up through the ranks of learning all these different trades. So this is very interesting. why do you think that information in regards to these different unions have not gotten out to the masses? It's like I'm 50, how old am I? 53. I'll be 54 this year. And I'm thinking back and it's like nobody ever mentioned anything about that. And it makes me a little annoyed that our history, very much current history, is not being shared. I don't we need to do something about that. And I guess it will take all of us that's coming in. And as I know, I need to share with my family, with my children, with my grandchildren, to their friends, to get the word out. Because if we don't have the younger folks coming in behind us, then these things tend to fade away, just like our good churches. You know, when they fade, they say, why did the church fade away? Well, the church faded away because the people that was true soldiers in there passed on. And the young ones, there were no young ones there to carry on the torch.
I would like to share, because I really would like to have Rod weigh in, right? But I like to share something I think may be helpful about these organizations. Okay, so the A. Philip Randolph Institute is named after A. Philip Randolph. A. Philip Randolph was considered by many the most preeminent Black labor leader ever, right? And when he organized the sleeping car porters, which people may have heard about, okay? And he is thought of by many people as the greatest. He was the one who actually inspired the March on Washington. He was the one that actually inspired the one that when Martin Luther King gave his "I Have a Dream" speech, he was the one who actually called for that march many years prior to that. He was the one who pressed President Truman to integrate the Army. So you know, he has a long history. So when he passed, they created this organization in his honor. And then that is the organization that we call the A. Philip Randolph Institute. Now, the other organization, the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, is another organization created by Black trade unionists. And one of those persons who many also believe is one of the most preeminent labor leaders we've had is Bill Lucey. You may have heard of him. He's from California, actually. But Bill Lucey served as the president and founder, one of the founders and the president of the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. And he was from AFSCME. And at the time, he was elected the Secretary Treasurer of AFSCME, many years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And at that time, that was one of the highest ranking Black people in any large union in the AFL-CIO. So I just thought I wanted to share that.
Yeah, that's all of that is good history for us to know where we came from, to see how we got where we are now. And all of that led to AFRAM. So we need to know that. Mr. Bashir, Mr. Bashir, anything you want to add to that, sir?
Yeah, thank you. Brother Marchel reminded me of some things when he mentioned the A. Philip Randolph Institute and the role that A. Philip Randolph played in organizing the sleeping car porters. It was those sleeping car porters that used to deliver the Chicago Defender, published here in Chicago, throughout the South, that led to the great migration of our people from the South to the North, including Chicago, Detroit, in a search of better employment opportunities. So the sleeping car porters played a major role in that movement in the 50s and 60s. So that's an important point. Also, Brother Marchel mentioned A. Philip Randolph and the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. He mentioned CLUE as well, which stands for the Coalition of Labor Union Women. I don't know if you've heard of them, but I wanted to put their name on the record as well. So there's a lot to be said about that history, and you've made the leap from that history to AFRAM. All of this is a continuous whole. The other thing that you asked about is why is it that we don't hear about these organizations. And, there are several reasons for that, but a couple that come to mind for me is that we haven't had the leadership of our own people that would point you in the direction of those other organizations. And secondly, and it is a fact that you can't expect a wealthy person, whether they're wealthy financially, or intellectually, or historically, to give you wealth that's going to make you equal to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is our responsibility to seek out these organizations and interests that's beneficial to us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hopefully now that can change in this world of social media and things of that. It's easier to get the word out. So I'm sure that as we have these conversations and hopefully more conversations to come, this will help spread and get the word out about AFRAM and all the other organizations that came before that still exists that we need to be a part of. I have some homework to do. So you gave me some names and stuff. I have to literally, we just have to, I'm sure some other people saying, I never heard of that, didn't know about that, unfortunately, that wasn't the table conversations when we were having dinner at the house, so we have homework to do. If we want these things to continue on and we want to be able to stand on y'all's shoulders, we got to do the work too. We can't just show up. We have to do the work too. Yeah. So when we get to 1992 with AFRAM, what was the conversation that you guys were having just among yourself about going to this international conference about like this time, hey, we're going to get this going for real?
So Candy, I wasn't sure, whether we was going to have like a question and answer period or we just have some presentation, period, so you can get the information out. But, I do want to say this, right? Also, right? What we call AFRAM, we use that acronym AFRAM. Of course, the official name of our caucus is the National African American Caucus, AFRAM, in quotes, SEIU. So our corporate name is the National African American Caucus, right? And we call it all AFRAM, right? Okay, now, but there was an organization that existed before AFRAM within SEIU, which I always considered the mother of AFRAM, right? And that organization came out of the West Coast, right? And that organization, when we got the, they were the ones on the West Coast, the Civil Rights Committee originally, who got the resolution together that was presented at the International Convention. So the way that our organization is structured, an individual person cannot submit a resolution to be voted upon at the International Convention. All resolutions have to come through a structure of SEIU, primarily a local union,
okay.
right? Or it can come directly from the International Executive Board itself. Well, our sisters and brothers in the Western region, what we call regions at that particular point, they had been meeting among themselves because there were issues particular to them. We were not meeting with them. They were meeting. The East was separate. The Central was separate. Everybody was meeting around, meeting on these issues within their geographical positions. But it was the Western region that got the resolution passed by several local unions. And that allowed the resolution to go to the International Convention. Right? And fortunately, I happened to be in California on the day that they was meeting about it by Providence, right? And somebody told me that the Black people were meeting, at the hotel. And of course, I went to sit, and that's where I met Talia Salam, Richard Price, and other leaders out of the West, Pat Ford and others. And they passed the resolution to form this caucus. So this resolution in 1992 went to the International Convention. Now, they changed it, they modified it, they watered it down, they tried to kill it actually, which is a part of our history as well. They tried to kill the resolution, but we packed the committee meeting at the convention, the rules committee, and through two people that are dear to us, we got the resolution out of the committee because they were trying to kill it in the committee, right? So it never got to the floor, but we was able to get it out of the committee, but then they modified it. They modified it. So what we had originally tried to push for was to have national African American caucus, right? Okay. Now, what they end up doing is they changed it to authorize or to acknowledge regional African American caucuses. Right. Okay. We wanted the national caucus, right? They approved. They changed out the resolution and adopted a resolution that called for regional African American caucus if you want to form one, right? Now, at the same time that happened, they also changed the resolution to include other groups' caucus recognitions. See, so then that's how the Latino caucus was formed. That's how the Lavender caucus was formed. That's how the Asian Pacific Islanders caucus was formed. None of those groups were at the convention pushing to have a caucus. But because they didn't want the Black folk to have the only caucus, right? They gave caucuses to the other groups without them even asking for it or even fighting for it. We had to fight to get this resolution passed. Okay, so the resolution was passed to create regional caucuses. So the first region that took off was the West. That's why I considered them to be the mother of AFRAM, because they took off. In the East, we had opposition, right? The people who ran the East region, which was aligned with people say with the mob and some other people, we had opposition in forming a caucus on the East Coast. There may have been opposition to forming a caucus on the Central, but Broad can speak to that, right? But in the West, the caucus took off, right? And they formed what was called the Western Region African American Caucus, WRAAC. They formed that, and they had elected officers, right? They had elected officers for that caucus, and they started to function and do things. Well, the rest of us, right, around the country, who wanted to have a caucus also, then we came back and said, now what we need to do is to go back to the convention in 1996, because we have more political clout in 96, and push to have national caucuses. So we did that, and that resolution passed as well. And it's from that resolution, what we call AFRAM was founded, which was the national caucus.
Okay.
Right. So there had been regional caucus, before the national caucus, and we were inspired by them, and we give great tribute to them, because without what they did, then we could not have done what we end up doing. Okay. So we formed, and that's how we formed what we now refer to as AFRAM.
Okay.
That's really what I got it off the ground.
Wow, that's a great history. Mr. Bashir, anything you want to add? Were you there in the mix of all of this goodness that was going on?
Quite a bit. Thanks to the Western region and the Eastern region, we did have opposition in the Central region. However, the opposition here was a lot more subtle. It was very direct in the Eastern region, a lot more subtle here in the Central region. I'm sure you know that SEIU actually began in the Central region with the Building Service Employee International Union. And it eventually grew into what we now call SEIU. Formed in 1921 here in Chicago with a group of elevator operators, engineers, flat janitors, what they call flat janitors here in the Chicagoland area. So again, the opposition was very subtle. 1996 was very pivotal for me, because it was a time that my local leadership, and sometimes this happens in leadership, where resources of local unions are seen as your personal resources. And if you were to make an issue of it, then you can become a pariah in the local union. So 96, I think I had been terminated by my local at the time. And also that was a period of time when Andy Stern was running for president of SEIU. Dick Quartz was president at the time, and my local leadership was very close to Dick Quartz and was supporting him for the international presidency. Well, just prior to the SEIU convention here in Chicago at the Sheraton Hotel in '96, myself and several other local staff members at the time, and I was an AFRAM member and working for AFRAM. Our president was involved in some things that we decided to bring to his attention. And once we brought those things to his attention, he saw it as a challenge to his leadership, and he fired all of us, which was at the time, he didn't know it, but it really gave us more time to organize, and which is what we did. And in the process, Andy Stern, who was looking for support for his slate of candidates, approached that group that had been terminated in Chicago and sought our support. And also he was seeking support from African Americans, and Brother Marchel can speak to this, inside SEIU. And we gave that support. Eventually, we were successful in removing the then president of the union. Andy Stern had a hearing, and we were all brought back to work with full back pay and benefits. But at the time that the situation was going on at the Sheraton Hotel, we were outside protesting the president here, and that's not what you want to talk about necessarily, but those are some of the things that were going on at the time. And we decided to support President Stern's slate. He won. We came back to work. But in the process, and I have to mention this because it was very tragic, one of the people that was working with us who had been terminated ended up committing suicide over the tragic situation that had taken place, which I regret to this day. But I'd spent a day or so with him the night before this happened, having a conversation about what was going on, but it was just, he felt it was too far gone for him to recover from what was going on in the local. And we'll talk about that another time, but it was a very troubling time for us, and we were victorious in the end, but it was troubling.
So Candace, let me share with you about 1996.
Go ahead. I mean, we here for it all.
Because 1996 presented a perfect storm for us, for Black people.
Okay.
Right. Because there were several things that was happening that had not happened previously. And it created an opening for us to muscle our way into the international in a special kind of way. Right. Okay. So the first thing we keep in mind is that in February of 1996, Black leaders, there were at one point 27 Black leaders in terms of local union leaders, presidents of local, more leaders, but just in terms of presidents. We had 17 Black presidents. So we got together and decided that we was going to call a national African American summit in Atlanta, Georgia, in Black History Month of 1996. And why that was important was that in 1996, there was an international convention coming up in 96, as we talked about that. And at that convention, there was going to be an election or who was going to be the international president of SEIU. Now, the culture of these unions is that there's never hardly an election. It's all inside politics, right? You know, they cut the deal before you get to the convention, and they get their slates together, and then they just run it, you know, and you just sit there, you know, you got to vote, but, you know, it's all decided pre-convention. But this was the convention that actually was an election scheduled, because our president, SEIU president, who was John Sweeney, had resigned in the middle of his term and became the president of the AFL-CIO, the entire labor movement. And when he left SEIU to become president of the AFL-CIO, then there was a political fight that took place within SEIU for who was going to succeed him. That fight was led by Andy Stern, who basically represented the international staff and what they called a progressive, younger generation. And the other side was led by Courts, right, who was the president of the local in Detroit, and Gus Bavono, who was the president of the local in New York. They were the old guards. So the old guards was coalescing, and then you had the young up-and-coming coalescing, right? And so at that point, it appeared it was going to be a close election. So we called a meeting of Black folk. And at this meeting in Atlanta, we developed what we call the Black agenda, right? And we was going to present this agenda to both of these different candidates. And we had decided that whichever the candidates addressed the issues that was important to us was going to be the candidate that we supported. Okay, so that was the muscle that we had not had previously, right? Because we never had an election, basically, right? So and that also was the year that we was bringing to the convention the resolution to create National African American Caucus, right? So that's this perfect storm that's coming into place, right? So we presented the convention, I think was in June. So we in Chicago, Rod. So we presented our positions to both of the candidates, and we also wanted to increase the number of African Americans on the international executive board, right? And also those who served on these committees that's a part of the interconnect, like the finance committee, the budget committee, all these committees that Black people had never been on, right? We pushed that they would include Black people. So, you know, so several things happened. So Andy Stern himself and his team, they were more receptive to the issues that we presented in terms of the Black agenda, right? And Courts and his team, they were the old guards. So they had some words for us. I'm not going to repeat them on the air, but you know, they call us all kind of, you know, anyway, I don't get into that. So, but we endorsed Andy Stern, his team. We endorsed his team. And then we went to the convention. We got him to support the resolution to create National African American Caucus, right? Okay, you had to do that. Otherwise, you know, that was our number one agenda, right? Okay, we wanted Pat Ford to be appointed one of these executive vice presidents, right? They was creating these new positions, the executive vice president, and we said in our resolution we want Pat Ford to be one of them. Okay, you know, and that happened too, right? Okay, anyway, so we go to the convention, and at this convention, the largest number of African Americans were elected in the history of SEIU. In the history of the whole union, the largest number of Black people were elected and appointed to committees in the whole history of SEIU, right? And then Pat Ford was elected to this executive vice president position, and the resolution to create the National Caucus was passed. So, okay, so all this has happened in Chicago. Now, in order to make that happen, like we tell people, you know, you have to gain people's respect. So leading up to the convention, we had requested space to meet in the Sheraton Hotel. The meeting was at the Sheraton. We had requested some space. We want to have we didn't call it AFRAM, but we want to have the AFRAM meeting, right, at that convention. They told us no. They said there was no room in the convention, almost like, geez, I'm gonna say that. There was no room in the inn, you know, for Black people. There was no room in the inn for Black people. And this is a hotel got, I don't know how many stories, 30, 40, 50, you know, high-rise hotel, huge ballrooms and all this kind of stuff. They tell us there's no room that's available for you to call like this black meeting, right? So we said, okay, fine. So we contacted, I talked to a couple of people, a lot of people actually, but two of the people that I talked to about it were Jarvis Williams, who was the president at that time of Local 46 in Chicago, and Paya Davis, who was, I think, the president of 73 at that point.
Yeah, Local 73.
Local 73 in Chicago. So Paya said, but Jarvis said, Smiley, there's a black-owned golf course in Chicago. What's the name of it, Rod?
It's the South Shore Country Club.
Right, the South. He said there's a black place called the Black Shore Country Club, South Shore Country Club, and I can see, can we rent it? The bar there, big, nice, pretty ballroom, really nice. I said, go ahead and find out, can you rent, how much it costs? And so he did. And then Paya said, because she was the president of the local that had the bus drivers, right? I think like the city bus drivers, or not the city, but the school system or something, bus drivers. So Paya said, Smiley, I can have buses pull up, in front of the convention site to transport people from the convention site to this South Shores Country Club. And then we said, well, how much is it going to cost? She said, we told her how much it's going to cost. Fine, we're going to pay that. So we said, no, we need to raise some more money. We raised $27,000 in almost like an hour, right? Okay. So yeah. So we had these buses. So at 12 o'clock on this particular day, we told people the bus is going to be out in front of the hotel, in front of the convention center at the Sheraton at noon. So around 11:55, black folks start getting up, walking out of the convention, right? That they still in there doing whatever they do in the convention, but black folks start getting up, come out, get on the buses and ride to this facility, right? Okay. Now, that is what actually gave us the respect, right, that we have enjoyed primarily from that time to this time, because we demonstrated, right, that we had the resources, we had the capabilities, right, and that if you are not going to give us the space in the convention, which we pay for, then we'll raise the money and go have our meeting someplace else. But we're going to have the meeting. See, you're not going to stop us from having this meeting. And that's what we did. And so we had the meeting. And when we was out there at the country club, the president called and said, do you want me to come out? Well, somebody come in and say, well, the president on the phone, he want to know, do you want to come out there? I said, no, we don't want to come out here, right? Because if they had let us meet in the hotel, we wouldn't be out here. So why are we going to invite him to come out here when we out here because they refused to give us space in the hotel? So I just wanted to bring that up because that's all in 1996. And so we walked out that convention with our heads held real high. We had the most black people elected and appointed in history. We had Pat Ford as one of these 3 new positions of executive vice president. We had the AFRAM resolution passed by the delegates to the convention. And we also pulled off our own independent meeting to demonstrate that we had the will to meet. So I think that was a very important part of our history that I think I just want to share, because there may be a lot of people who don't really know how we actually got formed, because from that, they had to give us respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Y'all shut it down by walking out. After the convention had been walked out the door. So they had to get their lives together real quick.
Yeah. So I just wanted to share, there's some other intricate parts of it, but those are the main parts of what had happened, right? And that was all like 1996. And that's why that's a very important year for us. Because after that, then of course we formed AFRAM. So the convention was whenever, in June or whatever it was. Then we had passed the black people had agreed when we was in Atlanta that we was going to call a national meeting of black people to adopt a constitution for this caucus and elect original officers that was going to be held in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1997. So the first national AFRAM conference that we held was in New Orleans in 1997, at which point we adopted a constitution, a national constitution, and we elected the first initial officers for AFRAM.
I mean, you guys just got the ball rolling and it just kept going. But when you persevere, things like that can happen. And then you guys all band together, and then you brought other people in that you guys stood strong on it and you didn't back down. That's a testament of power that we have within ourselves. No matter the obstacle, that don't mean nothing to us. That David, we the David to that Goliath. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, let me ask this question. Have you guys ever thought about writing a book?
That subject has come up in the last couple of weeks about perhaps documenting this in some form.
Yes.
That's something that needs to be talked about. But I wanted to go back to something Brother Marchel mentioned regarding the campaigns of the two people vying for the international presidency. Dick Courts on the one hand, the old guard, as he mentioned, Andy Stern on the other hand, the younger people, young progressive people. Brother Marchel mentioned that we, as AFRAM, would support whatever candidate that would support our issues and concerns. And in this case, it turned out to be Andy Stern, but there were people that we wanted to see on the International Executive Board, not just Pat Ford as the international vice president, but there were others we wanted to see on the International Executive Board. And if my memory serves me correctly, there were 16 names that were submitted to President Stern of individuals that we wanted to see appointed to the executive board. And of those 16 names, 13 of those were chosen to be on the SEIU executive board. Now, Marchel hasn't mentioned this, but I'm going to mention it now because it needs to be on the record. Marchel was the president of his own local union, Local 722. But as a leader, his name would have been one of those 16 names. But he declined. He declined because, and he can speak more to this, but that was something that we were trying to build. And as a member of the executive board, some of the independence that you need to build an AFRAM would have possibly been diminished in some way. So he did not pursue an executive board position, and I'm grateful that he didn't, because if he had, we wouldn't have the AFRAM today. We wouldn't have had it then. We wouldn't have it today if things had not, if he had not made the decision. So I wanted to point out that tremendous sacrifices were made by him and others, but particularly by him, that have helped us build this organization. And I want to say to anyone who's listening, chiming in on this live stream, there have to be some principled positions taken, and with those positions there's going to be sacrifice that has to be made. And so I wanted to just mention that, and it's important to the record as we continue this conversation.
Mr. Smiley, why did you make the sacrifice?
Well, I felt my commitment was to build AFRAM. So I told my colleagues that I did not want to be on the International Executive Board. I wanted to build AFRAM. And I looked at that as a calling, really, right? And I looked at it as a bigger challenge, right? And because like Roddy said, when you're on the National Executive Board, and if the National Executive Board is taking positions that are contrary to AFRAM principles, then you kind of compromise to stand up to that, right? But if you're not on the board, then it's like, you can tell them, we don't agree with this. We don't think this is the proper way. This is not the proper direction to take. So in order to build AFRAM, you have to keep in mind that we actually, and it's not just me, just to be clear about that. No, nothing like this could be successful based upon one person. There was countless people. Some named, some not even named, some gone to glory, but because you can't build it like, you need somebody to lead, obviously, but it takes a lot of people in order to make this successful. But you have to keep in mind that what we was doing is we were building a national organization. It wasn't like, we just building something for Washington, D.C. You know what I'm saying? We was building a national organization, right? And so, when you look at it, so we had, we had a lot of places, LA was strong, the Bay Area was strong, we had San Diego, we had Denver, we had Seattle, right? But then you had Chicago, we built Detroit, we built Minneapolis, Minnesota, we built New York, we built Boston, we built DC, Baltimore, Atlanta, Miami, right? We was building a national organization, right? And it takes a lot of different effort to try to do that because we got different opinions, which is nothing I wanted to touch on, right? Because I had this question: is what's in a name? My thing, what's in a name? But some people say, okay, but it's the difference between, the boy that they wanted to call the man Toby. He said, my name ain't Toby. You know what I'm saying? So a name is important. So what's in the name, right? And so we built a national organization within the greater union, right? And a lot of other unions leaders was looking at what we were doing because they were saying we need to try to like copy of what these SEIU black people was doing. Where we had looked at what the Teamsters did. We wasn't the first caucus, you know what I'm saying? The Teamsters had a Black Caucus. So I met with their president and talked to him about the Constitution and things that they were doing. The UFCW, they had a caucus. They called it something else, but they had a caucus. I met with them to talk about what they was doing and what they had to face, what they deal with. So, we didn't invent the wheel. We just looked at what other people had did, and we tried to make it better and structure it, a lot better than how they had it structured. But we had people, like I said, all over that helped out. But particularly in the West, I like to go back to the West. That's your region, right? Okay. Yeah, because I talked to, I want to get this. So the West is important to us, right? And I just want to share this for those who, like, you may not know, because you just got involved in this, right? Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. So after we had told you that in 1992, once they had got permission to form the regional caucus, the Western region formed their caucus. And Richard Price from Local 347 was the first interim elected president of that caucus. Subsequently, then Marshall Walker. Now, the reason I want to bring this up is because Richard Price, who was in 347, that's now 7-1. Right? You heard the 7-1? The local. Okay. Well, Richard Price, who was the president of 347, they merged that local into some other locals, and they have a local now that's called 7-1. Right? Now that 7-1 was a large part of what is 7-1 used to be 660. You ever heard local 660? No. Right. Okay. So that's a part of 7-1. And so Khalid Salam was from 660. Now that's 7-1. Pat Ford was from 616. And now that's part, I think, 10-1. And that Jeffries was the president of Local 535. That's a part of 7-1. Marshall Walker, who was the second Western Region president, was from a local which then was 790 out of the Bay Area. Now that's part of what they call now 10-1. Okay, and so what happened and why that's important? I'm saying that why that's important is because some of the members who are part of these new formed organizations don't really have that much knowledge about the predecessor organizations, right? So it's important to know that the first president of AFRAM in the Western region was Richard Price. Richard Price was from a local number 347. It don't exist no more, right? Because it's been merged into a different local. Well, in that new local that's existed, they still have AFRAM, Black people, AFRAM activists and members, right? But a lot of them may not know the history that Richard Price, who was the first person who stepped up to be the president, was on Local 347. And that just gets to the restructuring of SEIU as they have merged locals to make mega locals, if you will, right? And we had issues with that because that negatively impacted Black people, right? Because the majority of the Black presidents of locals were from small locals, right? And so when they merged these small locals into larger and made larger organizations, the number of African American presidents declined, right? Around the country, not just in California, just around the country. And so we had it was a decline in the number of African American presidents on the one hand. On the other hand, when we look at the recent convention that we just elected Sister April as our international president, right, in Chicago, you look at what's happening in Chicago, some of the locals that were merged, like we talked about Jarvis Williams from Local 46, they don't exist anymore. We talked about Paya Davis from Local 73. I mean, it still do exist, right? But now we have Black people leading those mega locals around the country, especially like in the West, in the Midwest. And so we're very proud, you know, so you got some things going on both sides. You got some shrinkage and you got some growth that's all taking place. And now we have some Black people who are heading up major local unions with SEIU, like all around the country. Diane Palmer is a great example of that, right? So, you know, it's important just to know. So I guess we just took your show.
No, this is what this was about. This is what Miss Tanya wanted. The history we don't know. So we need you guys to see. You need a book. We need a documentary. Maybe we need a movie too, because if you guys don't write this down and get it on film, on paper, we're gonna lose it.
So are you a member of Local 99?
Yes.
Okay. So do you know of or have heard about Jeanette Humphreys?
No, I've heard the name, but I don't know. So it's like when I came in to LA Unified and joined the union, you hear so many, I call them urban legends, which is stuff people just put out in the air and it just kind of carries over because this person said it. So now it's just spreading like wildfire. So a lot of things I heard about the union, you know, they don't really do nothing. They just take your money, you know, all that stuff they always say, you know. But over the last couple of years, as my children have gotten grown, and it's like, okay, you know, let me lean in a little bit more now that I have time to learn some stuff. It's like I went to for the steward training on Saturday, and my mind was blown about stuff that I've heard over the years, and I'm like, these people ain't giving the right information out there. They telling the wrong stuff, you know? Yeah. So it's like, we need you both and everyone else that can still tell the story to tell us so that we can carry it on. So whatever you want to share, even if we don't cover it all tonight, we come back and do it again as many times as it takes, because this is one way of having it documented. And we need this. We need this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Bashir, anything else you want to share?
No, I like Brother Marchel. I was hoping that there would be some questions that the listening audience might want to ask, things that we may not be conscious enough to mention. But that's not happening, right?
Let me see. Miss Tanya, is there any questions that may be coming up? Because I can't see them. So is there any questions that people may have?
So far, there are no questions in the comments, gentlemen, but there are folks who want to say hello to you. There are folks who are saying, wow, this is important. We need to know. No comments. So for the folks who are watching, if you have questions, please put them in the comment section so that we can share them. And there's somebody here who really wants to say hello to you guys too. We'll let Candy handle that. So
Yes.
I'm going back backstage, and we'll roll with it.
So yes, we have a young lady here that was there from the beginning, I was told as well, and we want to hear her thoughts about how she was involved in this beautiful process, and that's Miss Denise Dawson.
Yes.
So let's bring Miss Denise onto the stage.
Hi, Denise.
Hey, Miss Denise, you're muted. And it looks like there she goes.
She's still muted, though.
She's still muted. Let's see if I can take it off. Let's see if we can unmute her. Miss Tanya, can you see if you can? I can't unmute her. Can you unmute her?
Well, while she's doing, are you there?
There she goes, Miss Denise.
There are folks who want to say hello to you. There are folks who say, "Wow, this is important." No comments from folks who are watching. If you have questions, there she goes, Miss Denise. In the comment section, so that we can share them. And there's somebody here who really wants to say hello to you guys. We'll let Candy handle that. So,
yes. Oh, that's Miss Denise has to turn her background down. It's a delay, Miss Denise. That was there from the beginning, I was told as well, and we want to hear her. Oh, yes, Miss Denise has to turn her. Was involved in that beautiful. Let's bring Miss Denise onto the. Did we lose her? I think her connection is not too good.
Yeah,
I think that's what it is.
Well, Denise is a tremendous supporter of AFRAM. She as she mentioned, she's been around a long time. She happens to be out of my local 1. Very big support of all of the work that is taking place here. And she is still, I'm not certain if she is one of the officers now in the central region. I know her husband, Spencer, is.
I think Miss Denise is back. Miss Denise, can you hear us? Yeah, I think it's her internet connection is not strong enough.
She's muted.
To keep up.
Okay.
Let's see.
I want to talk about it.
Okay. She's unmuted.
Miss Denise, unfortunately, your connection is not strong enough. But we're glad because when Smiley wants to talk about you and you can't talk back to him while he talks about you. So
that's great.
Go on,
I wanted to share because Denise, like Rod said, Denise has been a staunch supporter of AFRAM. Staunch supporter of AFRAM. Anything asked her to do, she's done, and her husband as well, right? And so what I wanted to talk to you about, we just had our national convention was in Las Vegas last year, right? In April, we meet every April, so every other April, right? So in April we met in Las Vegas, and Denise Local 1 would not send her to the convention, right? They would not pay us to send her to the convention. And she'd been an AFRAM member for 20-some years, active in AFRAM. They sent people who weren't even active in AFRAM, might not even been members of AFRAM, right?
Wow.
But they wouldn't send her, for whatever the politics is. And so she called me on the phone at home. She called me home. She said, Smiley, I told my husband that they're not gonna stop me from coming to that convention, right? that we're going to go out to Vegas to celebrate, I think, our anniversary. We're going to take that occasion to celebrate our anniversary, right? So she and her husband came out, spend their own money, spend the hotel. I say with these, if you get there, if you get to Vegas, or if you come to Vegas, then I'll make sure you have a room, right? I got you, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they came to Vegas, right? Her and her husband to participate in the conference, and at the conference, right, which one of the most proudest moments, I can remember, right? So at the conference, I get up and I tell people what had happened about her and what she did and what sacrifice they was making to come to the conference. And we raised the money at the conference to pay her airfare and her husband's transportation to this conference, because she spent her own money. Most people come because they local send them and pay for it,
Yeah.
But she spent her own money in order to be able to join us in Las Vegas because her local refused to help her, right? And the members, the delegates at the conference, the attendees at the conference raised the money to pay her expensive, and not just her, it was a couple of other people who had come, who locals had not supported them. And we raised the money to pay them, to cover their expenses. Not just want to say because we love her so much.
Yeah,
She's been so special, right? She's talking on the phone, she was crying, she said, "Smiley, I'm not gonna let them stop me from coming. I'm coming, you know what I'm saying?" I said, and when she said that, I'm like, okay, well, I got you, right? So anyway, so I just wanted to share that. She couldn't respond back to that because she might be crying by now. But
that's awesome, though.
Yeah, but we did that at our convention, in our last convention, and it's one other thing I want to share, because we talk about the past, and that's very, very important. But we also want to talk about the future, right? So at our last conference, our theme was passing the torch to the next generation. That was basically the theme, right? And what we had decided to do this convention is that, which has been talked about for years and years and years, but at this last convention in 2023, we actually formed a youth AFRAM leadership team, right? And it's the same thing, because we always ask the locals, send young people, because AFRAM, we can't determine who the locals send. That's an internal local union issue, right?
Okay.
But we asked the young people, the next generation, give us some names of people, young people that you've met and know within SEIU, who you think should be a part of this initial leadership group to sit down and devise a youth agenda, a next generation agenda within AFRAM. Okay. And so we got a list. There's about 20 some people on the list, right? And about 12 of the people on the list, their locals wouldn't send them. So again, we paid for them to come. We paid for their hotel stay. We paid for their airfare, right? We covered the entire cost to get who we needed to have so they can have the conversation that they need to have, right? And therefore, as a result of the convention that we had in 23, a next generation organization within AFRAM has now formed. And they elected their own leaders. They have their own leadership. They developed their own agenda, right? They developed their own officer. They elected their own officers. And this is the next generation, right? And so what we recognized as a group, that it was important that we talk about our history, but it's also important that we prepare the next generation to be able to step to the front, to take us to the next level.
Absolutely.
Of organization. So I'm very proud about that, because we actually did it. There's been a lot of talk about it. The SEIU wouldn't do it. A lot of talk about it, but we actually did it, and it cost, and it took resources in order to do that. But we believe then and now that those resources was worth expending, because we wanted to see that this organization was formed. And so AFRAM members and young people, I don't know what the age they got, 40 or so. I don't know how the age thing is. But if you are part of the new generation, you should get in touch. We're going to post it, Tanya, on the website, the contact information for the new gen leadership within AFRAM, and you should get in touch with them and see how you can help form a new gen chapter within your area or within your local, right? So that the young people can then get together and address issues and concerns and ideas that they have and what they want to see happen in the next 10, 15 years. And so we just very happy about that.
Yes, we actually we have Next Gen's vice president, Lanier Boyd. She's
Right.
backstage. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
she's
So she
here.
know, right. So that's what we did, So we did that, and we happy. We're trying to encourage them and boost them, and whatever that we can, as they get ready to take on the mountain of leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
yes,
Rob?
we have to pass that
rise to the challenge of leadership.
Well, that's our theme, and I see that, and young people will do what young people do, but that's our theme. I think it's a perpetual theme because it's something that we have to continue to do, not just in SEIU, but in our society in general, and that is to rise to the challenge of leadership. And it's not always easy. Many of us by nature, we're not the kind of people that want to step out front, but sometimes we have to do what's necessary. And I, like Marchel, is very proud that there are young people who are still interested in continuing this work, and both of us are available for any role that we can play in helping them and advising them if they need it. Marchel mentioned that we didn't reinvent the wheel. They don't have to reinvent the wheel, and sometimes there's a tendency to want to do that. But take what's useful, and let's build on what's available, what's useful. And I think as Brother Smiley has mentioned, build on what we've already done. So I don't know how much more time we have, but I want to continue this talk about the young people, particularly inside the house of SEIU.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk. We'll go till 8 o'clock. Let's
8
do
o'clock.
it.
Well, that's about 10 o'clock my time, ain't it?
Well, we're in it now. We're in it.
But no problem. Sometimes we're not able to distinguish what belongs to SEIU and what belongs to African American people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important that we continue the work of SEIU, organizing the unorganized, building economic security, making sure that we are on the right page in terms of electing officials that carry out and support the agenda that we have as an organization. But at the same time, there are issues that are unique to African American people.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure, and this has always been my concern, that issues that affect us directly are not swallowed up in the house of SEIU. That we can make those distinctions, and at the same time carry out what we need to carry out. So what I'm saying is, let's not be blind. Let's be intelligent about what needs to be done. I'm of the opinion, through my reading of history and my own studies, that what we need as a people is inside our past, our present, and all we have to do is look to it and build on it. It's already there. Mm-hmm. Every other people around the world is studying African American people, but there is a influence out there that seeks to take us away from studying ourselves, so that we can benefit from what our people have left us as a legacy. I want to make sure that our young people remember that and take whatever I'm able to advise you on. Take the good of it. If it's not useful, then discard it. But if you see it as useful, then please take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Do you guys foresee something coming where you guys can get Next Gen and you guys in the same room and just take them all the way back with the history, so that they can know going forth? Like, we've already made the platform, we've got the structure together. It's good. We just need you to build on it and just grow with it. And do you see that happening where you think you guys could just get together and have an education powwow so they can know where they're coming from?
Yeah, well, I do. I did, because they're open. They're not separate from us. You know what I'm saying? We didn't. They're not separate from us, and I know that they're open. We actually did a history at the convention for them. We actually ran 2 conventions at simultaneously. We had them running their own mini convention within the larger convention, and we had speakers that came in to just address them. Issue, and we had a history session of that. And I think that last time the brother president, Charlotte, he was on the call a couple of weeks ago that I saw when you had Harrison Bullock speaking.
Yes.
So he is the national president of the Next Gen group, right? He's very open. I just saw him the other day, actually, at the SEIU convention. So I don't see that being an issue. I think that we just have to try to schedule a time, that everyone who can participate. But I don't really see any resistance or against sitting down and talking about things and how to avoid things, how to take advantage of other things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would just be so awesome. You guys have so much history to share. I think it would be a thing where it couldn't just be a one-day thing. It would have to be broken down into some sections for them to really just get the understanding of who they come from.
Yeah. But their struggle is different,
Yes.
Their struggle, many, we've knocked down many of the walls that would be in their way. Right now, they have to be able to then take the opportunities that have been created, to another level. But a lot of they don't have the same, some of the struggle that we had to go through. They don't have to, they don't have to go through those struggles. We've won those battles, and they have to take, like Brad said, they have to move on, looking at what we've accomplished and how it was accomplished and what are the pitfalls and what are the pressure points, and take those and then look at what do we want to do as a leadership? Where do we want to go? How do we want to build? This communication forum is a great thing. So I just want to thank you, first of all. I want to thank you, right? Yes. First of all, and then Tanya and members of Local 99, right, for creating this forum so that we can actually come together across the country and have a discussion.
Yes.
About a lot of different things, not just about history, but this is a great forum for AFRAM and for Black people to sit down and talk about some stuff, get some information out, share some information, and then even come up with some solutions and ideas that will help build AFRAM in the local areas as well as national areas as well. So this is great. I really do appreciate you. I tell you, like I was surfing. They call it surfing. I was surfing, and I ran into I ran into the presentation. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. We had Harrison Bullock on there, right? Betty Bowles on there. I said, what? I called her the next day. Look, you got to book me on there. I'm on there. Soon as you can set it up, I want you to book me on there because I want to go on there in order to share some information, right? And I also told her we should do something from the convention. We shouldn't wait till Monday the 28th. We can do something on the 22nd after April get elected president. We should do something that day, right? Convention. And they were talking about, they got rules. You can't broadcast on the convention and this, and that. We don't play it. We don't hear that. We got the first Black female elected international president. What I'm saying? If we want to talk, what I'm saying? We want to get together, have a conversation. We can get together and have a conversation. And we did, and it was a very nice conversation as well. So.
Yes. But you're more than welcome. Tanya has been speaking both of y'all names since the beginning. So this is something that she has always wanted to do, was to get you guys on here. So trust and believe. You guys were already on the lineup. It was just a matter of reaching out to you because you guys hold the key to what we need to know, and I get, a lot of the walls are down for the next gen and they don't have to fight as hard, but they need to know about the fight though.
Oh yeah.
Because, our little younger generation, maybe not the 30s, 40s, well, some of them 30s on down. I call them a microwave generation. They want it fast and they want it quick. They don't want to work too hard to get it. Some of them. So they need to know, the blood, sweat, and tears that you guys put in to get them where they are now. You guys set them up right. And I think they need to honor you guys. They need to show you some appreciation because you didn't have to do it. You could have made a choice to go the other way. Both of you. You could have made that choice. It's all about what you choose to do and how you want to serve. You can serve in a good way. You can serve in a half good, half bad way. You can serve in a bad way. But the choice is yours. And both of you made a choice to not look at self, but look at the greater good of what it could do for little Black girls like me that's coming up. That now I can tell my grandbabies when they get older, hey, Sugar, they call me Sugar. Sugar was a part of AFRAM. They can have that and be like, hey, when they hear it come, like, hey, my Sugar, she was a part of that for years. You know what I'm saying? So it's just one of them things that we need them to carry it on. And we all need to hear it, not just next gen, all generations. We need to hear it and we need to know it. And I'm so serious. I don't know how we can do it. We got to get you guys, we got to get this history documented some kind of way. We're going to work together.
People have been asking me to write about AFRAM for at least 15 or 20 years, right? And I've always been hesitant. I've always been hesitant because history is such that, it's various aspects of it based upon your perception.
Absolutely.
When things took place. And I just really never needed the heat behind that because I know what I know. I was in the meetings that I was in. And I can't remember where I put my glasses at, but I know what happened in 1996. I mean, I know what happened in 1996 at the convention. It's amazing to me how that happens, right? I'm like, well, I can't remember this, but I know what happened in the meeting in the San Diego, when we met and talked about some stuff, right? And it's very interesting about that. And I think that this is a part of the process. This opening it up, we opening it up, and at least we have video history.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't read history. A lot of people don't read books, as they used to right here. So we have, this is a form of video history. Because you can always go back and play this.
Absolutely.
This doesn't disappear, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can always go back and play this and revisit what we're talking about tonight. And so that's why I'm like, this is great.
Yeah, this is
I
awesome.
want to echo what Marchel has said regarding the program and your willingness to do this program. This is very good. I'm very pleased about it. I like Marchel. We might forget some things, day-to-day routine, but when you have things going on intellectually, you tend to forget. But when they're on your heart, the heart remembers. And this is a work that we love. We love not just, we didn't love the history as it was taking place, but we're pleased when we look back and say, well, look, these sacrifices were not in vain. When we see and when we both saw April Verrett being sworn in as the international president of SEIU, that's. We can't even. I can't even articulate how important that is to us, me. I'm sure I'm speaking for Marchel as well. April is out of the Central region. I've known her for 25 years or more. And just a quick story, and I mentioned this to some people at the convention. When I served as the Central Region president, at that time, the various local unions had not been consolidated. We had Local 4, we had Local 1, Local 4, Local 20, Local 46, and Local 880. And when we were forming, trying to organize AFRAM in the central region, we wanted to make sure that there was representation from each of those locals. And it turned out that it was an odd number, which fit right into the program, so that if we had an executive board, we would have an odd number executive board so that we could take some action. Well, one of the local unions in Chicago never participated in AFRAM. They were, their leadership did not support AFRAM. And because of that, the membership, which was 90% African-American, stayed away from AFRAM as well. And in 97, I believe, Local 20, which was April's old local union, merged with 880. And it was a happy time for me, because I remember saying to April that the local that you're merging with does not participate in AFRAM. They do not send members of the local union to AFRAM conferences, and I need your help. And she said to me, Rod, you got it. And the moment she became a leader at Local 880, the membership there began to participate in AFRAM. And since that time, they've been some of the staunch members and participants in AFRAM. And that was led by April Verrett. So April has been an AFRAM member and a supporter. So those doors that we are talking about that don't exist the same way they existed in our time, we have people now that are not fighting you. So now it's just going to be a matter of how you negotiate the issues that you're concerned about as AFRAM members and the interests of SEIU in terms of their agenda. But you're not going to have people, in my view, that fighting you to try to destroy you, as they were trying to do with us. They wanted to destroy us. They wanted to abort us in the womb. And they did everything they could to do that. But that situation don't exist anymore. We had a natural birth. The head has come out. That's leadership now. We just have to move on the basis of that. And so, and during our day, you may have had to crawl a little bit, but now you can walk on your own 2 feet.
Yes.
We're hoping that the next generation walk on their own 2 feet and use their own intelligence going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sure that they will. I'm sure that they will, because the young gentleman that's the president, he seemed fired up. Just the brief interaction we had with him on the first StreamYard that we have. So, and they have Miss Lanier Boyd in the building with them. So, she is a fighter all the way. So I'm sure they have good leadership and they'll do great things. And then, like you said, they can reach out to you guys and they can glean from you guys all the knowledge that you have. So that's going to be awesome. Miss Tanya has some pictures she wanted to show you guys, and we wanted to kind of know what was going on in the room. So Miss Tanya, are you able to put up that picture up for us? You got it, Miss Tanya? It's a picture with both of you guys in it.
It's a lot of those. It was so funny. I was talking about that last week. Well, let me say this while she looked.
Okay. I'm working on it. Y'all give me a minute. I'm gonna pull it up. So I can, let me say this, at this point, right? So I said before, we founded our Constitution. We passed the Constitution in 1997,
we had our initial election of officers. Okay, so I was elected the national president of AFRAM. So that was far more important to me in my heart than having been a member of the SEIU executive board, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Now that's a very interesting picture, which was in Las Vegas. Actually, that's the heavyweight, that's the champion, that's the boxer. What I forget what's his name? Muhammad. He was the middleweight champion. Or, anyway, he was this brother next to me is a boxer.
Okay.
And the brother next to him, that's John J.J. Johnson. And then of course next to him is Rod.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people we don't have the time, but at future conversations, we really want to talk about this guy, John J.J. Johnson.
Okay.
Because he was AFRAM 155%, and he did a lot of things that helped us be able to form the caucus. So I definitely he was my man. Right? We used to talk every day. So I'd like to have a conversation about him, share his story, what he did in terms of AFRAM.
Right. And then what about this? Look at this picture here.
Oh, now, okay, we're talking about some stuff now. Right? Well, I think you might see me over there with the white jacket on. Okay. Sitting down in the chair. I think that's me in the picture, right? But anyway, this is a picture that we took in 1996. And this was in 1996 also. This was at the Million Man March, right? And so this is in Washington, D.C. And so during the time that people had come to D.C. for the Million Man March, we had a meeting to talk about AFRAM, and about the caucus. We didn't call it AFRAM at that point. To talk about forming the caucus and talking about planning for the meeting that we held. This is 95. The meeting that we held in January of 1996. Now, it's hard for me to see the picture because it's small, but you probably will see Bob Moore in the picture, JJ in the picture. Willie Hampton, I think, is in that picture as well, who was one of our leaders from Detroit, who was in that picture as well. And so we was just, and then this is the brother. He was our first Eastern Region president. He's in the picture as well. And it's another angle because there's two sisters in the room also. But this particular photo don't capture them. Khalid Salam from Local 660 from California was in the room, as well as the brother who was the president of Local 660 was in the room, was a part of that conversation as well.
Great history. You guys have to find all those photos.
Yeah, we got a lot of photos.
Them. Yeah, because that's part of history.
I was sharing with Tanya last week. And I was saying, like, I was elected president. I served 12 years as the president. So you have 4-year terms. So I had 3 terms. So after I finished 8 years, right? I always tell people this because I think it's important. After I finished serving 2 terms, I was tired. I'm like, let's say, it's time for me to step aside. Time for somebody else to come in, right? And so the person that I went to about that was Rod Bashir, right? So I said, Rod, I'm young, but I want to step down, blah, blah, blah. And I think that you should be the president of AFRAM. So Rod said, well, Smiley, I'm not ready that right now. Some stuff going on, deal with some stuff. So I don't think I can do it right now. I said, okay. So I said, okay, I'll stay in. So I stayed in for 4 more years, right? So there's 12 years. So at the end of the 12th year, I went back to him, right? And said, okay, now, I hope you worked out all the stuff you had to work out. Because, I need to step aside, right? I need to come out, right? And then he graciously agreed to be the president, right? And like I was saying, Tony, last week, people asked me about, well, why you supported Rod, and they asked me about Rod and stuff like that. And I said to them, well, when I go back into my folder and I look at the pictures that I have, thousands of pictures, right? All the way back, when I go back and look at all these pictures from the past, Rod is always in them, right? Okay. And so that means to me, of course, that says to me that he was right there all the time, right? And that he knows what's going on because he was in these pictures. right? He wouldn't be in these pictures if he wasn't an active a part of what was going on. So when I look back into my folders and looking at the different people, he was always in the pictures, right? And that was enough, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying he was always there with us. So he's, you know, if he's willing, then he should be the person that we support. And it was a great decision for us, because there's a couple of things, 3 things I like to talk about that he did that he probably won't talk about, but I'm gonna talk about them, right? That were game changers. I mean, totally changed the game for us, right? And not necessarily in the order, but one of the things he did in this presidency, he went to the international and said, and went to AFRAM first, to us, our board, our leaders, to talk about the issues, but he went to this international and said, we think that you should be investing some of that pension money that you got with Black investment companies, right? Now, that's so important, because that took the conversation from internal, you ain't do right by this person or that person, to not even talk about their money, right? Because they have, you know, billions and hundreds of millions of dollars of this pension stuff, right? And they were not doing any business with Black investment companies, who records show was doing better in many cases than some of the white investment companies that they were doing business with. He also raised the issue that you should spend money buying goods and services from Black-owned businesses, right? Because they're spending millions of dollars every year in conferences, food, paper, supplies, travel, all kinds of different things that you need to spend money on. And he raised the issue that you should be spending money with Black-owned businesses, right? How much you spending, and he called them to account, right? And as a result of him doing that and raising these issues, then they changed their investment strategy, and then did in fact give more business to these Black companies. And not only that, Mary Kay Henry she pressed the issue on even on a larger level than just SEIU. So he was the person who took us, like we said, to the next level, right? Because we did some things, building and organizing, strategizing, but then when he come in, he take us to another level, right? Now that was very significant for us as an organization. Now he also created a theme out of his heart. I mean, we never had a theme. You know, we had different themes each conference, but we never had like a permanent theme that captured what it was we was trying to do. So he came up with this theme, Rise to the Challenge of Leadership, right? That was the theme that he gave to AFRAM, Rise to the Challenge of Leadership. And that was very, very important. And then what we've seen since that point is so many Black people have done that. That's why we have these Black presidents. That's why we have April. You know, I mean, not because we have April, but that's a contributing factor in a lot of the rise of a lot of the leaders who have risen up, because our theme is Rise to the Challenge of Leadership, right? And that was very, very, very important to us. Psychologically, that was very important to us. And there was a political statement involved in that as well. And it was a challenge. It's time to step up, right? If you got the talent, we don't knock the doors down. We don't open the doors. If you got the talent, then let's step on in there and just show and demonstrate that talent and rise to the challenge of leadership. And then another thing that he did, which is also great, is that he created the song, but he gave AFRAM a theme song. So we should have a theme song that when we meet, when we sing the national anthem, and we sing the Black national anthem, we sing the American national anthem, but we need to sing the AFRAM theme song. That we have our own theme song, right? So as we honoring these other organizations, then we should have our own theme song. And he is the one who picked the song. It's a great song. He picked the song and he said, "This is the song that we should have as our theme song," and we have that song. So when we meet, we in national basis, even regional basis, we sing our own theme song, right? As a part of our our progress. And so, I mean, and he did some others, don't get me wrong, that's not it, but those were major things because it just shook. You know, it's the axis in which we were spending. It shifted us to a whole nother axis. And our only problem with him is that we couldn't get him to be able to stay 8 or 12 years. You know what I'm saying? Because who knows where we had been, where we would be if we would have been blessed in order to do that. But in his short 4 years as president, he did some amazing things, and I'm so proud of him. You know, he's my friend and brother, and I'm so proud of him because he rose to the challenge of leadership.
Oh, it's a comment from Miss Denise. She said, "Rod, tell them how we beat them in bid whiz in KJ basement."
Nice. Yeah, well, we did do that, Denise.
And we had a comment from Sean Bolden. Her first comment was, "This is some good information." We had some hand claps from Miss Tina McLean. And then Sean Bolden said, "You guys are awesome. I hope a book is coming in the future because this is some good stuff. Thank you both." Yes. So that was from Miss Sean Bolden. So yeah. Awesome. Lots of comments from Miss Denise. I guess she was talking about the pictures. The one that was in Vegas. Okay, she said that's where she met April. That was in Vegas. Okay. Yes.
You know, we've been to Vegas. We've been to Vegas 3 times. That's our favorite place, except for Rod. Rod told us when Rod was the president, he told me, "I don't want to go to Vegas." I mean, it was fine, you know, he's president. So he said, "I don't want to go to Vegas." He said, "I want to go someplace where we isolated, so people can't go nowhere. They have to stay. So we end up down in Western Florida.
Oh my gosh.
That was nothing near this place. You know what I'm saying? The closest thing to this place was the Sawgrass Mill Mall, which might be like 10 miles away.
Wow. Y'all wasn't going nowhere.
But I want to keep them in the meetings.
So they don't get too distracted.
Yeah, well, we know how it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It worked out, Marchel. I think
it did. You know, I back you all the way.
You did.
What you wanted to do, you know, hey, I'm with you.
Here's a picture of Miss April here.
Yeah.
Is this the passing of the torch picture right here?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, you can just see all in her face, the gratitude, the humility, you know, just a joy and pleasure that I can see her doing some great things. She gonna move and shake some things in there. All right, Miss April, she's beautiful.
You know, go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, you know, April's never given me her word on anything and didn't fulfill it. And that's what I'm hearing from others who interacted with her as well. So I'm very pleased about that. But in reference to the Florida trip, we had what we call the no complaint weekend. All complaints, we'll take up all complaints on Monday. Let's get through the weekend. And surprisingly, we had no complaints.
Wow, really?
No complaints the whole weekend. I think about that because there were people that we haven't talked about that were behind the scenes that did tremendous work in organizing the conferences, the badges, the registration, dealing with the hotel. We can't forget Pat Ferguson.
No, not at all.
Leonard Simpson and so many others. And Marchel, you can bring up some of the other names.
But Denise McMahon, Denise
McMahon, Miami, Peggy,
yeah.
So you know these people that were working behind the scenes received a lot of complaints, but they were all volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to take the burden of complaints off of them. That they're doing the best they can as volunteers, and sometimes our people can be a little
much. We can be a little bit much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it will be a little bit much. So it worked out. I'm happy about that.
That's good. So, Mr. Rod, how long did you serve as president?
I served one term from
just one term.
From 2009 to 2013. That's another story. We'll talk about that another day. Okay. It wasn't. I didn't plan to leave, but others had plans as well. So that's the way that goes.
Oh man, it's like we have a lot to talk about. I would love to be able to get you two back and some of the other members that was there in 92 and 96, get Miss Denise back on here and some of the other people, and we can just have a powwow and go back down memory lane, right here. Y'all can tell some of them little stories, some of the good stuff we need to hear.
So while we sharing, SEIU last week elected its first international president in April, but AFRAM, we elected our first female president in 1913. That's because you served what, 99 to 13, Rod?
2009 to 2000.
Yeah, 2013. So in 2013, we elected a sister to be the national president of AFRAM.
Okay.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And so we've had, at this point, we've had five presidents at this point. And Anton Fambre is the current president. And he's organized himself in order to do an excellent job as well. And we're obviously there to support him. And of course we had Brother Andy Johnson, who was our president from Michigan, right? So we've had, and then Faith Cabret, who was our third president. Okay, she served 1 year, and so we've had five, presidents. We're on our fifth president. We formed in '97, so that gives us about 30 years or whatever in existence, and so we've had stable leadership, and so we're very, very happy about the contributions that they all made. Right? And there's so many people, like Ronnie said, so many people who just did so many things to help out. Smiley, I'll do this. I'm good at this, and I'll volunteer. To do this, and I'm good at that, and I'll volunteer to do that. And people come to our conference every year. Every time we have a conference, there are several people that come who are now retired and no longer even in SEIU, but they come to volunteer to help. Still, Peggy Watts from California. Peggy was our national treasurer for I don't know about 8 years or whatever, but she no longer with SEIU. But every time we have a conference, she right there. She called me on the phone, Smiley, I'm coming. I'll volunteer to help. I'll volunteer whatever you need me to do. I looked at the hotel list. She the first one to book a room. You know what I'm saying? And she not even, but her love for AFRAM and her love for what we tried to do and set out to do is still so very, very strong. Khalid Salam, who was from Local 660 in Los Angeles, is another person. Every time, Smiley, what you need me to do, I'll come, I'll be there, I'll help out. In fact, Khalid was I don't think the word is the chaperone, it's another word for it, but Khalid was the liaison between the National AFRAM Board and the Next Gen group. Okay. He was one that we assigned to work with them. He attended all of their meetings and advised them who had questions about. He was like the one we appointed to work with them during the time that we brought them all together. He volunteered to do that, and all these people work. And then we can't forget about Bill
Lloyd.
Well, Bill Lloyd too. Bill Lloyd go way back. Into the beginning. Actually, he was a very influential part of it from coming out of Northern California. He was at the convention. He was at the convention last week as well, right? So it's just been so many people who have volunteered their service, giving us their help, giving us their professional service in order to try to make the thing happen. Many of the people who work for SEIU, the staff people, were discouraged from participating in AFRAM, right? They were telling them they can't go to the meetings, you can't join AFRAM, blah, blah, blah. But many of them gave us tremendous backdoor support. Many of them. They might come to the meeting, they might want their name known, blah, blah, blah. But so many of them was helping us all along, right? Yeah. So many of them was helping us all along, and because they was insiders and they had information. Pat Tyson, name you people might don't know. We talk about at some point. Roy Bannis. People who don't know, we talk about Roy Bannis at some point. We had Marshall Walker, who was a major supporter of AFRAM.
Bill Pritchard. Bill.
Yeah.
So it's
Bill did all of the. Bill Pritchard. If we had a most valuable player award that we could give out, I can't think of anybody who we deserve to give it to more than Pritchard. Bill Pritchard worked. He retired now, but he's from the SEIU. But he is a telecommunications guy, the internet guy. He's just all around electronic genius and how he run things and put things together. And at every conference that we've had, we've turned to him to ask him to negotiate the deal with the AV from the hotel. So they tell us anything, but Bill can go in there, he talk their talk, and he save us $10,000, $15,000 every conference because he know what he's doing, right? And so he's a very, very valuable access to us. It has been for years. So there are a lot of different people. We just can't name them all because we'll miss somebody, of course. But we're very proud of all of the help we've received. Very great.
Okay. Let's see. Miss Denise, I saw her say, she said, Candy, Pia Davis was my president when I joined AFRAM. And she said, don't forget about her godson.
Pia Davis.
Pia Davis.
Yeah, Pia Davis is the sister that got them buses. We walked out that conference in 19.
He got them lined up for you.
She the one who got them buses. So when we walked out that conference and onto them buses to go to that South Shore
Country Club.
She was the one who arranged for the transportation, right? So that we can go. That was Pia Davis. So she was. And one day I'm gonna show you some pictures I have where we was raising funds for Pia Davis, and I was dancing on the tables. Shirt on and shirt off. Yeah. Well, I start off. They took my time, down in Miami. But that's my private stocks. I'm the only one have those pictures. But I know some people got some too. But we was raising money for Pia because Pia had helped us, right, tremendously. And she needed some help. She had some issues. And I said, well, look, we're gonna raise some money for Pia. So we started jiving around. So we said we're gonna raise some money. So we raised a few dollars.
Okay, a few dollars. All right. Miss Denise said Andy Johnson. Don't forget about my godson, Andy Johnson.
No, we didn't. Yeah. Andy was our fourth president.
Okay.
Right. So I was first, Robert second, Faith was third, and then Andy was fourth, and now Anton is fifth.
Okay.
And so those are our elected leaders who all were outstanding in their own way.
Nice. I think we have to collectively get together and we have to plan out our next shows, and we're gonna take our lead from you guys of how you want this to go, because this is gonna be our way of doing video history right here. So we will get together, we're gonna schedule out some dates, and we're gonna have some conversations, and whomever you guys feel that you need to come on and talk and share, by all means, they're more than welcome. So this was awesome. I'm sure this was just a drop in the bucket, what you have shared tonight. And I'm sure that as this goes out and we share it and people see it, it will draw them in. Because for years, I saw AFRAM on SEIU stuff. And I would say, what's AFRAM? But nobody could never tell me. They could never tell me. And it was like, okay, then what's AFRAM? And nobody knew because they had not been a part of AFRAM. So my goal is to, okay, you part of SEIU, you need to come on over here and get an AFRAM.
Right. Well, you're a great moderator. Yeah, so you're a great moderator. I've enjoyed this time. It went so fast, actually. I think you've done. I watched you last session. I said then that you was doing an outstanding job, and tonight you've done an outstanding job. And that's very because you volunteer and you have these skills, and that's what we're talking about, right?
Yes.
Challenge and leadership, right? skills, you have the talent. So you're allowing us to use your skills and your talent to be able to help build AFRAM. And that's what we had that's what people have been doing for 2 or 3 decades, right? Using skills, using their talents to push us forward, to push us to the next level. And I really do appreciate the time that we've spent together. And I hope at some point when I'm out in California, we get a chance to meet.
Absolutely.
And then of course I look forward to coming back, onto your forum, your format, have further discussions as it's necessary to do.
Absolutely, we definitely will. Oh, but Mr. Rod, I want to ask you, how did you come up with the slogan "Rise to the Challenge of Leadership"? What inspires you with that?
Well, there is a leader that I respect, have tremendous respect for, and he's a great leader in world history, particularly in the Islamic world. And he gave a lecture once on that topic regarding rising to the challenge of leadership. It is his belief as well as mine that African American people have left in a lot of ways, and the U.S. Constitution says that we're 3/5 of a human being, and there's a political and economic reason for that language, and but at the same time, during chattel slavery, 3 of those senses were allowed to be used. We could taste, we could smell, we could feel, which are the lower level of senses. But there are 2 senses that are higher senses in a human being, and that's the ability to see and the ability to speak and to hear. And so as chattel slavery, you only saw what the master helped you see, or let you see. You had no vision for yourself, and that was stifled. And you only heard what he wanted you to hear. And so if you're not hearing the right words, you don't have the ability to grow. And certainly if you can't grow, then you can't rise to anything. And that was the purpose, for you not to rise to anything, to be just a chattel, just to be a slave. So that lecture inspired me, and I wanted to use that language to inspire others. So that's the origin of it, Rise to the Challenge of Leadership.
So talk about our theme song.
The theme song, Something Inside So Strong. I think the best way to understand that song is to listen to it and listen to the words in it, which I did. And as I listened to those words, it captured and captures the experience of our people. Almost in every stanza of it, it captured where we were and where we want to go. And the thing that touched me the most about Something Inside So Strong is that the human soul can be manipulated. It could be trampled on. All kinds of things can happen to it. And as it is with our people, the higher you build your barriers, the taller we become. And our history has borne that out. The more you tell me I can't do something, I think somewhere in the song it says, just Marchel, just look them in the eye and say, I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah, you can't, Marchel, you can't build no AFRAM. We're not going to work with you on that. We're not going to help you. Yeah, but so it speaks to me personally, and I think it speaks to our situation as a people. And I don't recall where I heard it first, but once I heard it, I said, "Oh, that sounds like us." And so I took those 2 things and applied it to what we were trying to do in AFRAM, and thank goodness they worked out.
Absolutely. Do you happen to remember the artist?
Yes, the artist is Labi Safri.
I found it.
Labi Safri.
Yes.
F-F-F-R-E, I think he spells it.
It's Labi Safri, Siffre.
Okay. So when you listen to that song, and maybe somewhere along the way, since we're going to hopefully use this platform to help build AFRAM, it may be something you might want to use.
Yes, most definitely.
I'm
definitely
hoping that the next generation keep that. I don't, and I'm speaking as a past president. I haven't found anything that tops it at this point, and I'm gonna when somebody is able to top it, then let me hear it first, or let me see it first, and let's evaluate it and see if we've topped it.
Can I give a shout out, a personal shout out before we get off?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I want to give a shout out to the members of Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church in Houston, Texas. I was recently in Houston to attend the CBTU conference, and during the time that I was there, they were having the funeral services for their pastor of, I think, 42 years, Dr. William Alexander Lawson. And people need to research him in that name, because he goes back to Dr. King and even before. And he's considered one of the most outstanding Black people who ever lived in Houston, Texas. Right. And it just happened that I was there and they was having his funeral service. And so I went to the, of course, so I go to the funeral service. So many people spoke. The funeral service was like 5 hours. That's how esteemed he was. Right. And no one left. Nobody left, right, because of what was happening. And so I met some very nice people there who was very friendly, especially to me being from out of town. And so I just want to give a shout out to them and to his family, our sympathies to his family, his loved ones, and to the members of the Wheeler Avenue Baptist Church. And I just want to say that before we get off.
Let me ask you, what was the name again of Marchel?
His name was William Alexander Lawson.
Okay.
Dr. William Alexander Lawson, Wheeler Avenue. He founded the church 62 years ago, right? And they actually ready to celebrate their 62nd anniversary. But I don't really want to get off into that. But I just wanted to shout out to them because they were so kind and the loss that they had of their pastor. And the mayor was there, the former mayor was there. So many different people came and spoke about him and what he had done and the difference that he made for the people who live in Houston, Texas.
Excellent. I'll look him up. Thank you.
Let me see. I want to play. I hope you guys can hear. I want to play a little bit of So Strong.
Yes, that'd be nice. That'd be nice to go off on So Strong.
Yeah, let me see. Let me know if you guys can hear it. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I heard something.
Old man, your race is run. You think it's over.
Oh wait. That's it.
That's Labi Safri, but that's not.
Say it again, Rod.
That's the artist, but that's not the song. The song.
Okay, let me see. So Strong. Okay, let me stop that. Oh, you know what? That might be the name of the album. Okay, right. So let me see. Let me click on the album. And then, Something Inside So Strong. Here we go.
Here we go.
Got it.
Can't kill it.
Yes, that's it.
That's it? All right. Let's listen to this.
It told my story. I cried like a baby. Had to walk out the room. I'll never forget it.
The higher you build your barriers, the taller I become, the farther you take my rights away, the faster I will run. You can deny me, you can decide to turn your face away. No matter, 'cause there's something inside so strong. I know that I can make it, though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. Thought that my pride was gone, but no. Something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. The more you refuse to hear my voice, the louder I will sing. You hide behind walls of Jericho. Our lies will come tumbling. Deny my pleas sometime. You squander wealth that's mine. My light will shine so brightly it will blind you. 'Cause there's something inside so strong, so strong. I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. You thought that my pride was gone. Oh no. Something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong.
Okay.
Brothers and sisters, when they insist we're just not good enough. When we know better, just look them in the eyes and say, gonna do it anyway. Gonna do it anyway. Something inside so strong. And I know that I can make it. Though you're doing me wrong, so wrong. Oh, that my pride was gone. But good. Something inside so strong. Oh, something inside so strong. Brothers and sisters, when they insist we're just not good enough. When we know better, just look them in the eyes and say, we're gonna do it anyway. Gonna do it anyway. Gonna do it anyway. Gonna do it anyway. Something inside so strong. Something inside so strong. I know that I can make it. Are you doing me wrong? So wrong. But that my pride was good. Something inside so strong. Something inside so strong. Something inside so strong. Something inside so strong.
Great.
Wow, absolutely powerful. That is powerful right there.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we should do a video montage with the pictures that you guys have and use that song as the background for it, to show the history. I have somebody that can help work on that for us. So we got a lot of things to talk about, young men. We have a lot of things to talk about. Okay. And we can get next gen on board as well, because I'm quite sure they have some technological things that they probably could add to that.
Right.
But absolutely, we need a video montage with that song. Absolutely.
Make it happen.
And displaying the names of our forefathers of AFRAM. Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
When they insist we're just not good enough, just look at the eye and say, I'm going to do it anyway.
I'm going to do it anyway. Wow.
That's what we did at the convention.
Y'all did that, didn't you?
At the convention. We live streamed anyway.
Okay.
Well, how about that?
Right.
How about that? How about that?
Oh my God.
That is awesome.
Sister
that is
Candy.
Awesome. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, brother Rob Bashir, brother Marchel Smiley. Every time you guys talk, I just get wrapped up in everything that you say. And I knew it. I said it. I prophesied it. I knew Candy was going to dig deeper and pull out some more stuff. And she did just that. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not over yet. No, can you guys join us for one more? We made this into a 3-part series. Can we bring you guys back on maybe in 2 weeks, a week, and let's do this before Juneteenth.
We'll work it out.
And let's figure it out.
Let's work it out.
There's so much richness and brilliance and history that you guys bring to the table. And I appreciate you so much. Candy, I love you. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for doing this. Go off camera for a minute, but thank you so much. And look forward to the next time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're gonna bring in some more folks. We're gonna roll with this thing. Here we go.
I'll give you a list.
Thank you. Give me the list. Give me the list.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned. Yes. We're gonna get another date schedule. Yes, Mr. Smiley.
No, I'll just wait.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Good night. We love y'all.
Good night, everyone.
I love you too.
All right, bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.